Hello. Hi, Mary.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm good.
You sound tired.
I am tired. Hi, Jody. It's so nice to see you. Okay, we got a couple more minutes and it's just the three of us tonight. You, me, and Scott.
Oh, okay. So we're just missing Scott still.
Yeah.
We can do it.
You can't do it without Scott. We don't have a quorum.
That's what I meant, the three of us.
Three of us can do it. Hi, Rob.
Hi, Miriam. How are you?
Good. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having this meeting.
And you are first on our hit list for tonight.
Oh, that's what it's called?
No, I meant hit list as in greatest hits.
There, oh, there you go.
I meant greatest hits. Well, it's 7 o'clock. However, we're still waiting. Hi, Don. We're still waiting, Rob, for one more commissioner because we don't have quorum yet.
He's coming right now.
Oh, good.
I understand totally. So no problem.
Great. Hi, Scott.
Hey, everyone.
Okay, let's get started. And I know we've got some other people here, and I'm not sure if other people are here to make public comments or just to be a part of the meeting, but we're going to start with a hearing, and if you want to make public comments later, let me know that. Raise your hand, let me know that, and we'll make time for that later after this public hearing, if that's all right. So we're going to open the public meeting for the 263 West Pelham Road project with the landowner Rob Levine. And this is a swimming pool construction.
That's correct.
Rob, do you want to tell us a little bit about your project? Take a couple.
Sure.
minutes.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. So the project is installing an in-ground swimming pool in the backyard. And the backyard is already cleared. There'll be no more clearing or deforestation where the swimming pool is going. It's a grassed area and a mulched area with my kids' play set that will be moved is the location. It's approximately 14 feet off of the back of the house, on that back corner of the house that it will be. And the reason why I'm here today is because further out in the woods, about 60-ish, 65 feet from the edge of the back edge of the pool, there is a seasonal vernal pool with a wetland delineation around that seasonal vernal pool. Hence RDA submission for request in this hearing. So it is an in-ground pool, and it is going to be at the actually above the level of the current grade. And so most of the fill, almost all of the fill that will be taken out will actually be trucked out. And so it's a big hole that eventually will essentially just get filled with water. Yeah, so that's happy to answer questions about it or anything you guys need.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Well, I had a couple questions. What are the dimensions of the pool?
The dimensions of the pool are 36 feet long by at its widest. It's not a, it's called a mountain shaped pool. So it's not necessarily a rectangle, but at its longest it is 36 and at its widest it is like 17, a little less than that.
And so
And its depth of, I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Its depth of 8 feet in the deep end.
And so you're trucking the fill out. You're not going to be reusing it or stockpiling it anywhere?
No, so the way that they construct an in-ground swimming pool is they dig the first hole and then dig down in the deep end, and they set the walls, which are actually only 42-inch walls. And then those walls are reinforced and they backfill gravel behind the walls for about 2 feet. And then they'll pour a 2 foot, on the back end, a 2 foot wide, and on the front end, a 3 foot wide concrete cantilevered edge around the entire pool. And so because it's a concrete that they dig 2 feet bigger than the actual pool itself, and that 2 feet is filled with gravel for drainage and support of the concrete. So they don't reuse what they dig up, and so 95% of that will be trucked out of here.
And the other question I had, it was a question and just a comment, but the question was, where are you planning on putting erosion controls while you're doing the construction?
So the erosion controls will be between the obviously between the construction and the seasonal vernal pool, and in the same location that. So I've already gone through this process. That's why I'm so familiar with it, because the house actually is within the 100-foot range as well, that back corner of the house. So so I'll put the fence in pretty much the same exact spot that it was for the construction of the house, which is downgrade of any of the construction area from into the woods into the yard.
What were you, and what for erosion controls, what were you going to put up?
Well, we had done a silt fence. I'm happy to do whatever you guys recommend, but we had done a silt fence for the construction of the home. And I'm happy to do that as it, I don't, like I said, I don't anticipate really any runoff because everything's getting trucked out and it's a hole, and anything that's going to run off is going to run into the hole, and then I'm going to have to dig it out again. But I'm happy to do what you guys recommend. Historically, I've done a silt fence for the construction projects that I've been involved in the past.
Thank you. And I just wanted to comment, just so to make it clear for you and for the rest of the commission, that we're issuing or reviewing this RDA under the town bylaw, not under the Wetlands Protection Act, because the resource area is protected by our town local bylaw,
right,
but not because it's an isolated wetland. It isn't a protected resource area under the Wetlands Protection Act. So that's just a minor issue, but I want to make it clear.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions?
Where are you talking about at the moment? I just turned in.
I'm sorry, we're in the middle of a public meeting right now for 263 West Pelham Road, which is for a swimming pool.
Okay,
An
thanks.
RPA, request for determination. Where are you going to be stockpiling the gravel and the other materials?
That's actually all up in the front, above the, higher than the house. And that is in an area that is, again, not going to be disturbed. Most of, so what I'm told by the construction company, which is that they're frugal with their gravel. And so they don't come and actually dump it. They come with a dump truck and they scoop it out of the dump truck and into the places that they need it to be. And so there's no like stockpiling of raw material. It's really trucked in, scooped out, put into the to the 2-foot perimeter of the, and then anything extra has never been dumped, and so it's just taken out. So, but the construction trucks will actually come in through the other area, so they won't be anywhere near any of the. They'll be uphill of all of it, and in an area that has already been accessed through construction trucks before. So.
Any other questions from anybody? Scott, Mary, do you guys have questions
No,
about Don or Janice?
Nope.
Okay, seems pretty straightforward. So the question, I have a draft that we can review once we close the public meeting. Do we have enough information to close the public meeting at this point? The site plan doesn't really note where the erosion controls are going to be. So I think I think I put this in the conditions, but I think my recommendation would be that once you install the erosion controls, Rob, that you send the commission photographs of them so we can just confirm the location of them.
I have no problem with that.
And we ask people to keep the erosion controls in place until the area around your swimming pool is vegetated or established and the ground is stabilized.
No problem.
And if for any reason there's a storm or some damage to your erosion controls, you're responsible for keeping them up to snuff.
You got it.
Okay, so motion to close the public hearing from somebody?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for 263, 265 West Pelham Road for Levine.
Second? Scott, do you want a second?
I'll second.
Okay, David,
Aye.
aye, Con.
Aye.
All right, shall I pull up the RDA draft and we'll see if we can go through this? Is that okay with everybody?
That sounds great.
All right, let's see if I can-
Yeah, sure. It looks good.
What?
It's fine. Yep.
Well, let's go through it. So let me share this. And this is the PDF. So if I have to change it, I've got to go back to the Word doc. So probably should have pulled up the Word doc. But okay. So I'm making clear here on Form 2 that this is under the Shutesbury General Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Janice, let me know if you have any comments about this. So plot plan. And then here a description of the pool and the resource area, right? And then, does that look right? And then over here, this is where I got a little confused. Okay, so under B here, Janice, you were saying check off this 5.
Yes, if this is the copy that is going to DEP, then yeah, say that there is the work subject to review, and then the next one too, number 6.
Even though this is under positive determination?
I don't think there's an option on that on the negative though, is there?
There isn't, and that's why I was confused, because then we go down here and then 6, the following work
Yeah,
is subject to the bylaw, but not the Wetlands Protection Act. And so that's true.
yeah.
And then I went down to negative determination. The area described is not an area, why did I check that up? Is not an area subject to protection under the act or the buffer zone. I think that was
I
wrong.
guess that's true, right? I mean, if it's not under the Wetlands Protection Act,
Right.
But it is in buffer zone, but it's not in buffer zone by the
no,
act.
not
No.
by- under the act.
You know what? I'm gonna stop sharing this. I'm gonna find the Word doc.
So you can change things.
Because I'm not thinking that I have it right. And okay, here we go. I know we've done this before and I just couldn't find an example. So that's why, pardon the confusion about this a little bit, but we want to get right. Okay, can you guys see this now?
Yes.
Okay, I can't see if anybody has their hand raised, so somebody shout out if somebody has got their hand raised. Okay, so now here, you're thinking, no work within the jurisdiction of the Wetlands Protection Act may proceed. For positive, I don't know that it's,
Yeah,
we're not, I don't think we're gonna find that this is a positive determination.
yeah. But this part, the 5 and 6 say that this is under the bylaw. But I know what you mean, like, but 1, 2, and 3, 4 aren't checked under the positives. And
Okay.
those would be the ones that DEP would be looking at, I believe.
So since 7, we're not doing any of that. Now we're at
No.
negative determination. So in the here, this is where we're concluding that no further action under the Wetlands Protection Act is required. But it wouldn't be required anyway under the Wetlands Protection Act because none of this is under the act.
Right.
And so usually what we do is check off negative number 3.
Hmm.
Because it is within a buffer zone, is it within, what I could do is we could add the word right here, bylaw regulations.
Yeah, it might be good to add something. So it's in the buffer zone to DEP protected wetland?
No, it's in the
No.
buffer zone to a bylaw. protection.
Yeah,
It almost,
yeah.
will be- this is why we need our own form.
that's why I think you ought to have one that goes to DEP and then one that's issued under the bylaw, just because you do have different answers on these.
Okay,
And sometimes what they had suggested people do is either to use the same DEP form, but add, if you can get in through the PDF, whatever maker it is, you can get in and add in Shutesbury Wetlands bylaw underneath the title on the first page.
which is what I
Um,
said.
And then, okay, and then you make that your issuance.
Wait, no.
Yeah,
Right.
like on the first page.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
Let me show you. I did. Oh, you know what? I did it in the PDF. I didn't do it on this.
Okay, yeah, so but anyway, so you do that, so you do one without that goes to DEP. And then you do another with the protection bylaw at the top. And so some of those answers are going to be different in terms of, yes, it's under the bylaws buffer zone, but it's not under the Wetlands Protection Act buffer zone. That's the clearest way that I can figure it out. Although if you can figure out a way to put enough notes in there that it'll be clear to DEP, then that's fine too, to keep it simple, but
So I just saved this as a different document. So if we're doing this under DP, but do we even have to, I mean, DP doesn't require any of this because it's not a jurisdictional wetland.
did the applicant send a copy to DEP or not?
I don't know. Did
Did-
you? I don't know if we can tell, he can answer that.
Yes, I did, as instructed on the Shutesbury Concom, so submit RDA to Mass DEP.
Yeah,
So I did submit that.
so it'd be good to have a reply to that so that it's off of their table.
Okay, so let me go, so I've gone through and I've said here, it's not a protected resource area under the act. This is the one that would go to DEP.
Okay,
And then walk me through what we're saying here. It's going down. We would just say,
I think that's okay, because you're saying it's subject to review by Shutesbury, and then the next one says it's not subject under the Wetlands Protection Act.
yes.
And so
that's-
I don't know if you need to do anything under the negative determination. Well, you could do it, right, the area is described is not an area subject to protection under the act or buffer zone for the DEP copy.
And then not do 3.
Correct, yep, and the 3 goes into your
Right.
bylaw copy instead.
But I can just take this out.
I guess so.
Okay, and then everything else is good. Nothing here. The determination, this doesn't count, right?
Let's see, what was number 5 on that second?
It says the area described in the request is subject to protection under the act. No, it's not.
No,
but it's an
okay.
exempt activity.
Okay,
And here, the area described in the request is not subject to review or approval by the municipality.
well, you
pursuant-
don't do that because it is
Not.
subject to approval under the bylaw.
Okay, so
Okay,
that would be,
the DEP one.
that would be the DP one. Save and close. And then let me open the other one. And what I can do is when I convert it over to a PDF, I can
Yeah.
add the language. And so this one. Okay. All right, can you see this?
Yes.
So now, walking us through this, that doesn't change.
Mhm.
And then down here, we've got,
What about, yeah,
is approved by the bylaw.
and maybe you would be putting, what was the number 1 and 2 on that positive? Any of those apply under the bylaw? I think 1 would still apply, right? But it's under, you'd have to add that it's under the
Bylaw.
bylaw. If, yeah, otherwise just leave it off, I think. It's
I
probably
think
easier,
leave
you
it
think?
off.
Yeah.
And then down
Okay.
here.
Yep.
What I thought was under negative. Take this off
Yeah,
and then, oh, maybe I can. Nope. That's
no,
the
wrong copy.
Zoom link. All right. How do I get that out of there? I want to open up another Zoom. Where'd it go? All right. Oh, it's the whole agenda. Okay.
Oh, you're lucky, it's not too much.
Open recent. Hold on a sec, let me get that text.
Right,
Did it open? No, it did not. Okay. Now. Where was, oh. No, we deleted it and I don't have it. So, okay.
oh, I
so
thought maybe you had it somewhere else still.
I didn't.
Okay,
Okay, so back here. Okay, can everybody, this is not right. Okay, so we are. I've lost the document. Can you guys see the document?
it's twisted.
Yeah, I think it's glitching. And when you're sharing it, it's frozen.
All right, let me try to find it. It would be. I'm gonna stop the screen share.
Yeah.
Let me try it again. It would be. It just closed. That's why I don't have it. All right, let me find it again. Open. Sorry, computer's really slow. Oh, that sounded good. Oh. Hang with me, people. I'm sorry. So DOA draft, this is the right one. All right, let me try to share it again. Okay, can you see this now?
Yep.
All right, so we were back down to the negative determination number 3, which I'm assuming we all agree we'll take a vote, but while we're drafting this, I'm assuming we're all going to agree on. And here, okay.
Ah.
So here's where you're saying take off number 1, see attached,
Mhm.
and then everything else is good to go.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
right?
Yeah, and just make sure you send the right one to DEP and you keep the other.
Yes. Okay, now let me pull up the special conditions that I drafted. And I'm looking at the time, I'm mindful, we at 7:30, do we have something at 7:30? Or it's 8?
8.
Okay, so we got a little bit of time, I don't need to rush. All right, and we maybe will tweak this a little bit, given what we were talking about erosion controls. So, and there were a couple things I had questions about that are in green on the document. Okay, can you see it?
Yes,
And so again, I have jurisdiction, making it clear that it's under the bylaw. Proposes an in-ground swimming pool. Is it necessary for me to have the dimensions on here?
I don't think so.
Okay. And then here, proposed work will occur within 60 feet of an isolated wetland. That's a protected resource under the bylaw, but not the act. And that we treat the buffer zone as a protected resource under the bylaw. This determination is issued under the bylaw, and we find that there will no impact on the protectable resource areas listed above. Is that okay?
Yep,
All right. And then conditions. Do we call them conditions or special conditions?
I suppose you could put special because they're on a separate sheet.
Okay,
I don't know. You don't have regular conditions, so for a
that's what I was thinking.
determination.
Right, okay. So we can inspect. Erosion controls define the limit of work. Inform workers, provide a copy of these conditions to anyone doing the work. Anyone doing the work is responsible for protecting the resource area. If there is any changes, they'll inquire from us before implementing those changes. And then I had erosion control. So we didn't really talk about the distance of the erosion controls. We didn't get into the details of that with him. We can't talk to him now. So shall be installed prior to the commencement of any work activities. And I had that they would consist of a staked erosion sock. Do we want to specify that or leave it as a silt fence like he was suggesting?
I think what he suggested was okay.
I do too.
You know, Dawn and Janice, usually we talk about it, we recommend erosion socks, so.
Yeah, I mean, when it's a steep slope and there's a danger of runoff from the work, like pouring cement might spill out of the hole and run downhill or something like that. But this doesn't sound like that type of project. I think he's fine with an erosion fence,
Erosion, a silt fence, you mean?
a sill fence, yeah.
Okay. So there, is that good? And straw to cover any disturbed areas of soil. We're good with that? Submit photographs in lieu of a pre-construction site visit. Install them. All the materials will be stockpiled at least 100 feet from the wetland. remove any debris, unconsolidated materials would be tarped, nothing placed within the jurisdiction, no dumping, no tree removals, grass seeding with a conservation mixed grass seed. And photographic documentation of the site within 30 days of the completion of the project. Is that all right?
Yep.
Let me get rid of that. Red. All right. And then erosion control stay in place until the site's stabilized. Maybe I already had that. Is that already it? I don't think I said that. Well, will consist of until the site and so and shall remain in place on the site. Is that all right? And then we can get rid of this last one.
Yep.
Okay. Are we good?
Looks good to me.
Mhm.
That's good to me.
All right. A motion to approve as amended.
Make a motion to approve as amended.
Okay,
And
second.
I will second.
Okay, David,
Aye.
Stefan, I, Con.
Aye.
Okay, Rob, we will send you both copies by certified mail. And Carrie, I will go over this with you, which ones to send to DEP and which one will get sent by certified, which one does not go to, they should both go to the applicant, but only one goes to DEP.
Okay.
And I just need to also say, do I have everybody's permission to digitally sign for you? I do. If not, Mary's
Yes.
nodding too. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I think that we are good to go, Rob, with that.
Wonderful. Will this, will the permit sign off occur following the mailing, or when will that happen?
I'll put together, Carrie, we need to get it out in the mail to you. And honestly, when did you submit the permit?
The permit was submitted maybe a month ago.
Well, it wasn't a month because we were within the 21 days for issuing the permit, and that's why we met tonight.
Oh,
Because-
for the construction permit you're talking about?
No, for the RDA.
The RDA, yeah. No, I was talking about sort of the construction permit at the Franklin County, so that the construction can commence, I guess, is the question. When,
Carrie, what's your availability tomorrow for sending things out? Is it only in the morning?
Yeah, so I'm working all day tomorrow. I have an appointment in the morning before work, but I could send something out after the appointment before I go into work.
I just want to make sure if I may, because I can't get it together by tomorrow morning. I'm not available. I'm just thinking, I want to make sure. that
I could send it Saturday morning.
You could send it out Saturday morning?
Yes.
Okay, if that's possible, and I think we're still within 21 days, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, I don't work until later Saturday night,
I
so
just make sure we're within 21 days. Let me just look at when the permit was approved. So it looks to me like it was submitted on May 17th, so we should be good, right? It hasn't been 21 days.
So, Mary, my sense is that maybe Mr. Levine was asking how to get the sign off from the building inspector,
yeah.
that it now has approval from
Okay.
Concom.
that's the one. Thank you for clarifying that.
Well, I will go on and I will go into the platform and approve your building permit.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. So my question was really about that. Like, take the weekend, take whatever you need for the mailings. That's fine. My concern was really
Yeah. no,
the
we'll-
sign off of that. So
We'll sign off on it.
wonderful. And I will drop off. I already have the envelope of the originals for all the certified mail receipt thingy-majingies. I'll drop that off in the Concom town office box.
Perfect. Okay. I should be making notes of my to-do list as we're talking. All right, we've got a little bit of time.
So I think I'll drop now.
Yeah, we're good. We're good
all
with
right.
you.
I
Thank you.
appreciate everybody. Thank you so much for your help and your support through this whole thing.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Okay. Give me 1 second. So should we talk about the enforcement order issue? At this point, we have to take some time to do that.
Sure.
We have until what time? We have until 8 to do the next public hearing.
Yes.
So, and is anybody here to discuss that? I don't see the owner here. Okay. I'm just gonna review the facts of the situation, that we received a phone call from somebody who lives on Pratt Corner Road, who called on Friday morning, shortly before 9 o'clock, and called me on my cell phone. And I never asked the person how he had my cell phone number, but I think he got my number from a friend of his, is what I think happened. Because I think a friend of his had reached out to the commission at some point, and Carrie had given that person my cell phone number. So this individual called and said he was concerned about unpermitted work at 678 Pratt Corner Road. And following his contacting me, I did some investigation to figure out who the landowner was for that property. It wasn't easy because on the Franklin County Register of Deeds, the deed is in the name of a holding company. Not, but I was able to look up who is connected to that company, and somehow found their cell phone number online. I don't even know how that happened, but I did that. And so then around 10 o'clock in the morning, I notified the commission, and I contacted the landowner around 10 o'clock on Friday morning, and he consented to a site visit. And so at 2 o'clock on Friday, Don Wakaluk, myself, and Beth, no, who was the third person?
Robin.
What?
Robin.
Robin came, right, Robin Harrington, who was the commissioner. So the three of us met with Mr. Thomas Mitchell, who's just purchased this property in the beginning of May. And what we observed on the site was that there was some heavy equipment, and there was a large cleared area in the back of the yard where there had been some construction activities, and it was very wet, and it looked like some substantial amount of fill had been added to that area. And all of the vegetation had been removed, and there was some straw and some grass seed on top of the soil. I was surprised when I took a step onto the straw, and my boots, and I was really glad I was wearing boots, sunk up above my ankles. So it was a deep saturated muck with standing water, which again was surprising because it was pretty dry at that point. We had some heavy rains Friday night, but you know, a lot of areas were pretty dry as of Friday afternoon. But this had a lot of standing water, and clearly hydric soils evident. So we looked around the area, and I'm estimating that it was more than 1,000 square feet. We didn't measure it out. I think it may have been closer to 2,000 square feet that had been disturbed. So it was quite a substantial area. The landowner said that he wanted to dry the area out. And he had taken some trees down and pulled up the roots. We don't know how many trees were removed. And then he had buried a perforated pipe in riprap around the perimeter of the property, and then had this buried pipe sunlighting and draining a little area down slope near the property line. And when we looked around a little further, we saw that there was an intermittent stream that comes down a hill behind his property and connected to this area that had been disturbed. So this had been a wetland connected to an intermittent stream. So it was a BVW. the front of the house has a very small front yard where I believe there's an old septic system that has failed and is not up to code. And then there's a driveway that's kind of slopes downhill. There's a culvert under the driveway and a gully. And in that gully is another BVW intermittent stream. And that's a tributary of the Adams Brook. So it's an intermittent stream that then connects a short distance away to Adams Brook, which is a perennial stream and a cold water fishery. So the concerns were that this wetland had been dug up and destroyed, damaged, and a drainage pipe had been installed, redirecting water flow out of a wetland area and redirecting groundwater out of a wetland area. And there weren't sufficient erosion controls in place. There was some straw for the grass seed, but there were no erosion controls around the property or the slopes. And to kind of go along with the chronology, I had, oh, I'm seeing somebody coming now. Hi. Oh, hello, Mr. Mitchell.
Hello,
Hi, Mr. Mitchell.
how you
We were
doing?
just starting to review the situation with your property.
Okay,
Could you identify yourself?
Jake Mitchell.
Okay, and what's your address?
It's gonna be 678 Pratt Corner Road,
Oh, what is it right now?
345 Federal Street, Montague.
Okay. Street, is there an apartment number or?
Unit A.
Okay, and you're the property owner or are you one of the property owners?
Me and my dad bought it, so we're gonna move in. He's gonna be on the first floor. He's kind of got a hip problem, so it kind of worked out is all.
Okay. So, and that's Thomas Mitchell who lives at 93 Leonard Road.
Yes,
Now, on the deed to the property, it says Hoya Hoy Properties.
yeah. So we did that for ownership reasons, liability reasons. So that's pretty much
Okay.
why we did it.
So what is the mailing address for that?
47 Tamarack Drive,
Okay.
Amherst, Mass.
And are you the only two owners?
Yes.
Okay. So we were just describing the chronology of our site visit and what we had observed. And then I just was reviewing with the commission the chronology of what happened after we conducted our site visit. And I do want to give you an opportunity to talk, but I'm just going to review this chronology first. And then perhaps we can talk with you. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So I just was reviewing how we became aware of the concern that there was a phone call made to the commission on Friday morning. And then we reached out to your father and got his consent for a site visit, and we had a site visit with your father. And then there were some heavy rains on Friday night. And there was some concern about whether the site had any erosion controls in place. And as you may know, I had sent your father some emails over the weekend. I wasn't sure if he was getting them because I didn't get a response back. But I had emailed him about erosion controls. I'm glad, you've sent us some photos, and I'm glad that you did get the emails and that those erosion controls were put in place. We're glad to see that. I haven't had a chance to send that to the commission because it came in today. But Mr. Mitchell sent us some photos of erosion socks in place. Don, you have your hand raised.
So I just want to make sure that it's added to the record here. That when we arrived at the site, the house was unoccupied. There were no trespassing signs posted around the property. It wasn't obvious from the front of the property where the work was being done. But in my travels past the property over the last week or so, I did observe that there was a skid steer parked on the left side of the driveway And at one point, there was a mini excavator there as well, with the ability to dig fairly deeply.
And there was a
My,
pile, and there was a pile of fill on the, or
there was a
gravel.
pile of fill on the left. Yeah, that's right, in the back. When we traveled to the backyard, we saw immediately that there was hydric soil, that there was wetland vegetation in the form of sensitive fern and a few other fairly obvious wetland varieties. Farther beyond that, heading uphill, upslope, was the drainage line that had been placed in the ground and covered with gravel, which seemed to be functioning, seemed to be working. Just beyond that, we found the wetland and we found a stream, intermittent stream. And just beyond that is the next door neighbor's new driveway, which at some point must be crossed by that stream, which may or may not have had adverts installed to direct that
Well, his
stream.
driveway goes right over it's all pitching towards my property right now. His driveway.
Well, Donna, I would say that the bed of the intermittent stream seemed well established.
It was well established,
It's been around for a long
but we
time.
don't know if the volume of water being added slope had increased or was decreased, or if it had affected this property at all. All we know is that
What
water
property is
was
that?
traveling in a stream upslope,
Okay,
and it was emptying into the yard,
and that
What yard?
into your yard, Jake.
Okay.
let's kind of stick to kind of like laying out the.
I'm just observations, that's all.
Yeah, let's just stick to what, laying out and establishing the facts that we've collected, and then we'll move forward with what we need to do. So there were concerns over the weekend. Some emails were sent out. I drove by the property because I live on Pratt Corner Road. I wasn't going out looking for your property. I just happened to drive there on the way to the supermarket and saw.
Oh, cool, right?
What?
Oh, and that's cool. You live on Pratt Corner. That's cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So anyway, saw some trucks out there. Wasn't sure, since I hadn't heard back from anybody, whether or not any of the emails had been received, or whether work was continuing. So at that point, there was a decision made to send out a cease and desist letter to make sure by certified mail that the landowner knew definitively that we wanted the work to stop. So on Tuesday, we sent out by certified mail a cease and desist letter, which is a formality that we do when there's enforcement matters. So fast forward to today, I got these the photos from Mr. Mitchell, and I had a consultation with DEP about this late in the afternoon, and the recommendation from DEP was that we issue an enforcement order tonight. And they suggested some wording, which I drafted, that is open-ended enough so that we're not going to make a final decision tonight about what needs to be done on the property. We're going to just lay out for the landowner the steps we would like them to take in order to come back to us with a proposal for our approval. So that was the recommendation from DEP, and I have some language drafted that I can share with the commission. So Mr. Mitchell, maybe we could hear from you, and I have some questions. So you're renovating the house for your father.
No, we're both living there. We're just mainly just paint. It was cosmetic, mostly cosmetic. Really
Okay.
didn't do anything.
But you're gonna both live there is the plan?
Yes, yep. Upstairs, downstairs type thing.
Okay. And is there any other permits that you have going right now?
I'm sorry, what?
Have you applied for any other permits?
No.
Okay, and are you planning on applying for a septic permit?
Yeah, definitely. So we have Billy Sharuda, Bill Sharuda, PE, septic design. Do you know him?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we brought him up to the property. There's already a perk kind of up the hill a little bit, just because it's so, up the hill. I think that it perked better. So he's in the process of doing a septic design for us right now.
So a couple of problems that I think you're gonna have to deal with is that because there's a lot of wetlands on this property, we're gonna need to go out and look at the site you're considering for the septic design. To ensure that it's outside of 50 feet of the buffer zone of any wetlands, and that if it's within 50 feet of the buffer zone, then you're gonna have to apply for a notice of intent with the commission, the Conservation Commission. If it's outside of 50 feet, but within 100 feet, then it can be applied for through the commission through a request for determination of applicability. So we have to determine where the boundary is and where you're planning on doing it. Is
Okay,
that-
that's fine. That sounds good.
And one of the problems that you're going to have is that there's a wetland in your backyard, and you're going to have to access this uphill area, possibly going through that wetland area, which is something the commission's going to have to review whether that's possible or not, and how it can be done. We can't give you an answer about that tonight, but that's one of the issues that we need to resolve through this enforcement order. And I know that's not very clear, but the draft enforcement order will have, I'm going to show in a little while, it's going to have some things that we're going to, the commission's going to consider asking you to do to come back to us to help us decide what further action needs to be taken.
Okay, so there's wetlands in back of the house or in
Yeah.
the front of the house?
Well, there's at least as much as we saw, there are wetlands downhill in that sort of where the culvert is in your driveway, way down the hill.
Yes, yep,
And
definitely.
behind
yeah.
your house is also a wetland, and there's an intermittent stream that feeds into it.
Okay, and that's delineated on a map somewhere?
No, it hasn't been delineated on a
Okay.
map, but we inspected it on Friday and determined that the area that you disturbed was a wetland,
Okay,
and it was very wet. So there's very high groundwater, and often where you have high groundwater saturation, you'll see wetlands developing. And there was evidence that there had been long-term water saturation there. So it was been a wetland for a long time.
okay.
I know you said in your email that you were a little confused because it isn't on any DEP maps, but DEP maps are only very general and used really for planning purposes. They're not used for permitting. And wetlands always have to be established by inspecting the site in person. You can't rely on those maps.
Okay,
So in consulting with DEP, they agreed that this sounded like it was a violation of the Wetlands Protection Act, as well as, you know, from our perspective, also a violation of the regulations for the bylaw, the Wetlands Protection Bylaw, which doesn't allow people to alter or change a wetland without being permitted by the Conservation Commission. So, do you have any more questions for us, Mr. Mitchell? At this
well, I guess it'd be nice to be a little more clear as what we're gonna do going forward, I guess.
Yeah.
Because if you guys didn't know it was wetlands, how would I know it was wetlands, I guess? I'm just trying to make kind of something in the backyard, you know what I mean, for myself.
It
And
happens.
I
mean,
didn't quite know, I apologize, obviously I didn't know it was wetlands, so
Yeah,
I don't know, now we have an issue, and I'd like to know a clear path forward, how we can
sure.
resolve
Well,
it.
well, that's what, if it can be resolved, we want to help you resolve it.
Okay,
I can't guarantee you how we're going to resolve it. It's complicated because of your property, but I think that's what we need to do is we need to gather more information so that we can see what the options are. Because we really need more information. We know that there's a violation, so it's an enforcement issue for us. I understand it wasn't intentional, and so even if it's an unintentional problem or error, we still have to treat it as a violation. What you intended to do is not really the point. It's what happened to the wetlands. And I understand that, you know, you didn't know, and we encounter this a lot. We do our best to educate people in town to always consult with us before they start digging, because people often don't know where their wetlands are. But the way the laws are written, the applicants and the landowners are still have the burden of responsibility for figuring it out. And we certainly try to help people when they come forward to us before they do things, but you know, we don't know sometimes until after the work's been done in this case. So,
Okay.
okay.
I would just like to have a general idea what, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Not today or maybe in a couple of days, what the plan, just something, you know what I mean? Some type of
Yeah.
idea,
So,
what we could do is all.
so commissioners, should I show you the draft of the requirements and then we can talk about them? So I talked with Mary Grover, who is our contact person at DP. And, you know, she said that one of the concerns is that if it turns out, you know, if it was a permittable activity, you know, the easy fix would be to have the applicant, the landowner, apply for a permit retroactively and issue a permit. But if it's damaging a wetland, that's not a permittable activity. A permit can't work your way around that. You're not allowed to damage a wetland. And so then you become, there's no way to issue a retroactive permit for that. She said that the options would be restoration or replication. So restoration is that the applicant has to replace and restore the wetland to wetland conditions. Replication is that they would create a wetland somewhere else, either on their property if they have the real estate for it, or on some other property if they own it, that's comparable in size to the area that was damaged. And her recommendation was that we require right now of the applicant, you know, 1, erosion controls, 2, cease and desist, 3, to come back with a professional wetland delineation and site plan, so that we can really see what's on the property. And she recommended that whoever does the delineation examine the soils and the extent of where the original, to the best that's capable of doing it, to be able to see the boundaries of where the original wetland would have been by looking at where the hydric soils are in the soil profile. And then come back to us with a proposal for addressing the issues. So kind of leave it in the landowner's hands that within a certain time period, they need to come back to us with a proposal and with this evaluation. And then we would have the data that we need to assess whether that proposal is workable or not. Carrie, you have your hand raised?
I just wanted to let you know it was like 4 minutes before 8 o'clock.
Okay, thanks.
Cool.
So our 8 o'clock hearing is for Nate Hurd. So, and then the 8:30 amended order of conditions is going to be continued. So that should only take a couple minutes, I'm hoping to, but, and I don't see those landowners here. We may have a problem. Hold on one second. We do not, Carrie, did they by any chance call us? Oh, wait, here they are. They emailed us.
I'll say they emailed saying that they would like to continue.
They're going to be in the call, so you can move it to continuous. Okay. All right. That's fantastic. All right. They want it first on the agenda that evening. No, I don't think we can do it first. What did I tell them? 9 p.m. We have a 7:30 public hearing. All right. Well, it is, I'll have to let them know that. They're wanting to do it at 7:30. We'll talk about it at 8:30. So that's essentially, I can show, when we finish these next 2 issues and we get back on our agenda, we can look at the draft.
Okay, sounds good.
Mr. Mitchell, do you want to hang on to this meeting tonight? So when we get back to your topic, you'll be here for that?
Honestly, I might go to bed actually, but I think I got some good information. I hope we're all on the same page, I think. Yeah. So we'll move
Well,
forward somehow.
it's I just want to be honest, this is a serious situation. You've got, a challenge here because this wetland was so close to your house. And something has to be done in response to this. I don't know, Janice, do you want to maybe you can explain it more clearly than I am. Is there anything I'm missing here that he should hear before he signs off?
I guess not, that you'll just be issuing, some directive, for them to follow with a deadline on time. So they have questions, they should get back to you
Yes.
on it.
Yes, so one thing is that some of these requirements are going to mean you're going to have to hire some professionals to help you, Mr. Mitchell.
Okay, yeah,
and-
if I have the money for it, I guess, yeah.
Oh, and there's going to be a time limit that we'll set on this, that you're going to have to come back to us within we'll probably give you a month. And, if that becomes unworkable and you need an extension, you can come back and talk to us about it. And we perhaps will approve an extension depending on what's going on. But we do want to see some movement towards resolving this situation. So we need your cooperation, and we're glad you're here. But that's kind of where we're at.
Just to clarify, Miriam, Mr. Mitchell's not to do any additional work there in the wetland without the conversation with us. That
All of your property pretty much is in buffer zone, Mr. Mitchell, which means we don't want you doing any ground disturbance anywhere without a permit.
Yeah, so in my email, I definitely said we stopped everything and we pretty much doing what you guys want now.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
We really appreciate that.
I'm just trying to look forward now.
Yeah.
So-
I think the other thing that would be helpful is for us to set up another site visit with the commissioners who didn't get a chance to go, because it was kind of a sudden site visit, and so there wasn't a lot of time. And
Yeah, I'd definitely be open to that. I'd like an email exactly, not exactly, just a rough idea of what we want to do moving forward. Then I'd be open to another site meeting, I think.
okay, well, just so you understand, if we need to do another site visit and you don't consent, that would be a problem for us.
Oh, well, yeah, I just like something moving forward, what we can do.
Yeah.
is all.
So we'd like to do another site visit. We usually like to do them on Sundays. I don't know if this Sunday is an option for the commissioners. I can reach out if that is an option for you. If you could check your email, I'll let you know. And perhaps we could arrange a site visit with you present. We don't want to do the site
Yeah.
visit without you present. So we need your consent. and
Yeah, that wouldn't work without me there.
you need to
Yeah,
have them at the property.
I think it's just a summary of what you guys said in an email, and then I'd definitely be down for another site meeting, I think.
Okay, well, that would be great, because I think that it'll help us move the whole process forward if all the commissioners can see for themselves.
Miriam, I think he really needs to get a hold of the sanitation professional and find out if a septic system is even doable.
Yeah, he said he has somebody, so.
Well, I think he needs to move that forward a little more quickly at this point.
Yeah, he's working on it right now.
Okay, it's 8:01, so we're gonna move on because we have to open our public hearing for 64 Cushman Road for the geothermal system. Hi, Nate. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Hi, Nate.
Hello.
Welcome. All right. So you revised your site plan, version 29.
No, just 4.
Only 4. And I think that we're pretty much, I don't know, did everybody get a chance to look at it? Were there any questions?
Oh, I thought it looked good.
I don't have any questions.
But I thought it looked like what we had asked for.
Okay. So with that in mind, do we have enough information to close the public hearing?
I think so.
All right. Okay, somebody, want to make a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on 64 Cushman Road.
Okay. Second,
I will second.
David,
Aye.
Devon, aye, Con.
Aye.
Okay. All right. So I do have a permit drafted. Let me pull it up. I have draft special conditions version 3. Yeah. Okay. Let me see, make sure this is the right version. And I'll screen share it. Okay. And hopefully we got it right this time. And draft conditions version. Wait a sec. Okay. Because these are the special conditions. All right. So we approve the mean annual high water mark of Adams Brook as delineated on the site plan and flagged on the property as H1 to H12. Yes? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then the commission approves the boundaries of the A series vegetated wetland on the site plan. Flagged on the property is A2 to A5. Flag A1 is off of the property and is not approved. And I think that's right.
Mhm.
Okay. We find that there's a larger bordering vegetated wetlands on the property associated with Adams Brook and the A series vegetated wetlands that is neither flagged in the field nor mapped on the site plan. The boundaries and associated buffer zone for this wetland are not approved. Is that kind of
Okay.
capture?
Yep.
Janice?
Yeah, I think so.
The 100-foot buffer and the A series, around the A series bordering vegetated wetlands and the bank is neither mapped nor flagged in the field, but is a protected resource area under the Shutesbury bylaw. It is mapped. He mapped, it's partially mapped. But it's not flagged in the field. What do you want me to say? Partially mapped?
Whatever makes sense. I don't know.
Is why don't we just say is not flagged in the field, but is a protected resource? Leave it like that. Is that all right?
Perfect.
Okay, then the project, and then there was all this description of the project, which I think is okay. I don't know if anybody read it.
Yeah, I looked at it.
Okay. And cold water fishery. And then we have update number 4 of, let me get rid of the coloring. Okay. And then this is subject to riverfront standards, blah, blah. We find that there's no practicable, this language is, we have to have this language pretty much with our findings, don't we? Is that right, Janice?
Yeah,
And then when we say that we're approving it, then we're saying they have rebutted the presumption of an adverse effect.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. All right, so that's good. And then most of this is all boilerplate that we've been approving as standard condition. Here for number 9, erosion controls will be as follows. A staked erosion sock with straw shall be used for erosion controls between the trench and the bank. No hay is permitted. Additional straw bales may be added. Matting if needed. A staked and trench silt fence around the borehole, spoils pile. Okay.
mhm.
All right. And in lieu of a pre-construction site inspection, he can submit photos. I think that's adequate for this because it's such a limited project. This is not a big project. We would ordinarily do a pre-construction site visit for a bigger project. And then debris and stockpiling has to be out of the buffer zone here. And everything else is standard. He's going to put 2 inches of wood chips for stabilizing. And he's going to give us photos 30 days after the completion of the project.
Okay.
Right?
All right, so that's that. I'm saving that. I'm closing that. And let me, should I open up the permit and EDP so you can see it? I think I have it queued up. And I think what I might want to do, because I don't want to make a mistake because I'm rushing here with the meeting, is if we can approve the draft, if I can go over the draft in EDP and then I can sign and submit and upload things after the meeting, that would be a little easier.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds great.
But then I have to convert everything into a PDF right now and I just don't want to, I don't want to,
Well, that's fine.
don't want to make a mistake. So let me get into EDP. I think I have it queued up. I did have it queued up. All right. And screen share somehow. Screen share. I guess I do it like that. Okay, you guys can see my desktop. Can you see the EDEP?
Yep.
Okay.
We can.
All right, so we are, which one is his? His is 88, I think. Yep. Okay, so this we had made this draft before. I think this is all correct. Excuse me, we've got the new site plan, which I added with the May 25th. Is that the most recent one, Nate? Can you just remind me so I don't have to look again? Is it May 20, or did you submit one on May 27th? I think
I
it was-
have a date of May 27th.
You're right. So I have to do it. So this is update May 27, update 4. I didn't. So it's site plan, site plan. Update 4.
Yes.
May 27th. All right. Everything else is the same. Let me save that. Okay. And then this is all the same. We have the 300, these calculations for the riverfront changes. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
And this is all blank. And then attached conditions. It's not subject to stormwater change, but here are the special conditions. May 27th, so we have to change this to, whoop. It turned all yellow on me. So this would be special conditions 632. And then under the bylaw, yes, it's under the bylaw, and we have to change this date. Okay.
Mhm.
And there'll be only 3 signatures, so I have to change that. Sorry, there's some noise. All right. Okay. All right. So I should be able, if we approve this, all right, I'll leave that alone. Maybe I'll exit right now. Okay. Hold on one sec. Exit. Okay. So if we approve that, I will submit it and I will have Carrie mail it out, or I'll mail it out tomorrow if I can do it. If it doesn't get mailed out until Saturday, should the date be 6/4 for the issuing date?
I think it's probably okay. I've seen different things, whether the issuance date is the date the commission votes, or whether it's the date of the postmark. So I think you can leave it the date that you issued your decision that you,
Do it on June
so
2nd.
yeah, so if that's tomorrow morning or something, then do it tomorrow, or you can do it as the day you made the decision, which is today. I've seen it in different cases
All right.
said different ways, so.
Maybe For simplicity's sake, I'll go back in and change it to June 2nd.
Okay.
Is that okay with folks?
That makes sense.
Okay. All right, so do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve. Is it the order of conditions? For the public hearing for 64 Christian Road.
Okay. And I'll second it. David,
Aye.
Stefan, I, Con.
Aye.
Okay. So Nate, we will send you by email a digital copy. We will submit a copy to DEP and we will send you a copy by certified mail. And then you're good to
Thank
go.
you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
I hope it was a good learning experience.
I learned a ton.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we appreciate it. Okay. Thanks. All right, so 8:14. Should we go back to the enforcement order draft? Let me see if I can pull it up.
Might as well try to keep working on that.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the attachment first. And then we can go to the actual document, which I do want Janice's help. Making sure we've done it correctly. Where is it? Enforcement attachment. Let me see, this is. Okay,
Marion, while you're looking for that, I'm just wondering, looking at the air photo of that property, and is this the work that was taking place? I'm just looking at where, if it's the property I'm thinking it is, the property lines, the house is fairly close to the property lines too. Is that the same property, or is it, do you have an air photo of this or not?
I mean, there's photos in the site visit.
I
but
saw the ground photos. I was just trying to get a perspective of
of the
where it was in
property.
relationship
I haven't-
to the house.
I haven't printed one out,
Okay,
the assessor's maps yet.
but this is on the kind of the east side. I mean, when I pull up the property address, it looks like it's like on the east side of
Yeah,
Pratt Corner, right across from where that horse farm is
Yes.
there.
Yeah,
And there's
so
a
when
long
you drive by,
driveway.
it's directly behind the house. When you
Okay.
drive by on Pratt Corner Road and you're looking at the house, it's the backyard directly behind it, uphill.
you can't see it from the road, the area
No.
that was disturbed.
Yeah, there's a fairly long driveway going back.
Carrie, you have your hand raised.
Using the assessor's website thing, I pulled up the parcel number if anyone wants to look at it.
Well, let's go through before we go there, let's go through the enforcement.
Okay.
Okay, because when we can go, there'll be time for this, I think.
Sure.
Enforcement order, all right. Okay, can you see this?
Yep.
Now, one of the issues that I'm a little concerned about is that we have to make sure that we have the correct landowners. So my thought is to reference both the Mitchells as well as this company and all of their addresses, because they have 3 different mailing addresses. So
Good idea.
So because it's a little confusing to me. So I'd rather capture everybody. Okay, so enforcement order requirements. The landowner shall allow the Conservation Commission or its agent to enter and inspect the property and the activities at all reasonable times for the limited purpose of evaluating compliance with this enforcement order, and only until all requirements of the enforcement order have been satisfied. This is kind of the language we put in an order of conditions generally. I think we have this authority anyway, but I thought that putting it in the enforcement order would make it clear to the landowner that they really need to cooperate with us around site visits.
Agree.
Is that okay, Janice, you think?
The only thing that I worry about may give you some problem if someone objects is if it's without probable cause.
Mhm.
I can understand the with or without prior notice, but I would think you'd want probable cause. I don't know, just a question there.
Times.
But is that what DEP usually uses?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
I think we got this, I got this language from the MACC
Uh-huh.
suggested. So why don't we just say with prior notice
Okay.
for the limited purpose. So, I don't think we really want to do this without prior notice because
Yeah.
it may not become anything we would discover if we didn't give them notice, we wouldn't be able to use.
Mhm. Okay.
It wouldn't be admissible as evidence. Because there's a due process issue they need to be given.
Okay.
Even if we have the right to do it, why would we do it if we can't use the information? It wouldn't be helpful to protect the interests of the act. Okay, so the landowner shall cease and desist from any ground disturbance or activities that remove, fill, dredge, or alter wetland resource areas, including the 100-foot buffer zone of any wetland resource areas that are protected by the act or the bylaw activities. And then I put in a definition just to make it really clear to the applicant or the landowner. Activities that remove, fill, dredge, or alter wetlands are defined broadly in the wetlands regulations. The Conservation Commission has jurisdiction over any draining, dumping, dredging, damming, discharging, excavating, filling, grading, blah, 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 blah. I went on and on and on.
That's good. I think that, these people don't seem to know about the Wetlands Protection Act, so it's good to give them some background.
Yes. I don't know if I should actually say, I should probably say what.
Oh, yeah, it's a good idea.
Okay. All right. And then the landowners shall take all necessary and appropriate steps to stabilize the areas of soil disturbance and prevent sediment discharge and erosion into protected resource areas. This shall include installation of staked erosion socks filled with straw, no hay around areas of soil disturbance and any slopes. Additional straw bales may be added as appropriate, and matting installed on any disturbed slopes. I don't think there were any disturbed slopes, but I just put that in there. Then they shall submit photographs to us once these are installed, once the erosion controls are installed. One thing that we didn't get to say to Mr. Mitchell was that when they sent the erosion controls, they didn't put any in on the side yard where it slopes down to the driveway. And that's kind of one of my areas that I was most concerned about erosion, because if it rained heavily, it would just go straight down the driveway into the wetland down the hill.
There was a sock there when I went by tonight,
Oh, there was on the side
Yeah.
of the yard?
on the side, yep.
Okay, great.
Good.
Good, I'm glad to hear that. The erosion controls will be inspected, they'll have materials, no stockpiling on the property or dumping in the wetlands. These are conditions that were used on orders of condition, and I thought I would just put these in here to make clear that what they need to do. Is that okay?
Mhm.
Yep.
On tarping things. And then here's the meat of it. Landowners shall submit to the Conservation Commission a wetlands delineation plan for the entire property prepared by a qualified wetlands professional. Wetlands boundaries and buffer zones shall be identified on the site plan and flagged on the site. The wetlands delineation site plan shall include contours. I didn't know what feet. 2-foot contours? What do we want? 1-foot contours? There's some slopes in there.
I don't know. They'd have to get a surveyor to do the slope, those contours then, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. 1 foot sounds pretty
It sounds pretty-
detailed.
I was thinking the same thing.
No. Well, what do
I
you-
was just looking at the quad.
Do you want to have the slopes delineated or not? I mean, we don't have to have this in here. I think we can figure it out for ourselves by doing site visits where there are concerns about slopes. So I don't personally feel like this, I'm invested in this.
Okay. I mean, I think that the quad itself has 5-foot contours on there. But I think someone could easily pull what's off the readily available already for the contours of the site.
Uh-huh.
That would help us.
So let's take that out. But this was a condition that DEP wanted.
Mhm.
The flagging shall delineate the boundaries of the alterations to the protected resource areas as determined by soils analysis, and this site plan will be submitted no later than. Today's June 2nd, we could say July 2nd and give them a month.
Okay.
On that piece, Miriam, would it be helpful to delineate the boundaries, but also the extent of the alterations?
Well, that's what I mean by the boundaries.
Oh,
Oh,
I think about boundaries as being for like wetland fill cases, typically you're measuring how much of a wetland, the square footage of a wetland that's been altered, but then also, if you're going to try to remediate it, what's the depth of the fill there? And that's usually the extent.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that language. So the boundaries of the alterations, including the depth. What do you call it? The extent?
The extent of any wetland fill or alteration.
Thing. I'm going to explain this. Example depth of alteration.
a fill.
Yeah.
Fill. And the including the extent of alteration, i.e. depth of fill, i.e. Let's do i.e. Does that sound right?
Yep.
Okay.
Including the extent of fill alteration, okay. And again, July 2nd. Anything you want to add to this? Anybody? Janice, do you have any ideas?
No, I think it's going to be pulling teeth to get them to do it, but because they don't understand yet. So I think it's going to take some doing, but I think that explains it pretty well. I wasn't sure when I first read it, but now I understand what you mean about it's a wetlands plan. It's not a restoration plan at this point because it may be, you have to be decided how much was wetland in order to know how much needs to be restored
That's
or
right, we can't, we just don't
Yeah.
have the
Yeah.
data to make any.
yeah, that's
orders.
good.
Landowners shall submit to the Conservation Commission no later than, I can change this to Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, I had one more before we move from 8. The only other, and from you that were there on the site could weigh in on this, but it looked like there was a drain from the pictures that have been installed. And I'm guessing the invert of that drain has, an elevation. If that's a perforated drain tile going out into portion of the wetland, I think that's the other particular feature that would be interested in is, the details around that, the drainage system that he's installed and as it relates to the protected wetland area.
And shall also detail the drainage system recently installed site by the landowners. What's that? So
Including the impact on the protected wetland area.
Well, isn't that our job to figure that out? I don't know. We're the wetland scientists.
If there's a better way of saying, I'm just specifically what I'm thinking about is, the where it's running, how far away from the wetland it is and how deep in the soil it is. But if
Yeah, that's what I
that's,
was thinking. Where does it drain to?
Let's say design details of the drainage system. Yeah, well, it should be mapped. So we're saying that it needs to be mapped, and the
Yeah.
design details would give us that information.
Okay, yeah, if it has the location and the elevation, I
The-
think
the
that that's
drain-
what we need.
The drain is like a foot from the wetlands. It's right next to it. And they filled to put in they put in gravel to put in that, so.
Right.
Okay, landowners shall submit no later than, we can change this to July 2nd, a detailed plan or proposal, we say proposal, for addressing this violation. Any proposal shall be subject to the commission's approval and conditions. Janice, did you?
That seems good.
And then they're hereby notified that should the commission determine upon reviewing the site plan that the work that has taken place is unpermittable under the Wetlands Protection Act and the Shutesbury bylaw, the commission may require landowners to submit a wetlands restoration plan at a later date. I'm just putting this in because she kind of suggested we warn them that this possible outcome is that it's unpermittable. If it's unpermittable, then there isn't a fix really, and they're going to have to either do a restoration or a replication, I think.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah, do you want to say at a later date? I mean, I don't know if that's necessary, if that sounds like, oh, it could be a year from now or just, yeah, just
Yeah.
something like that.
Let's leave it as this. So we're asking them to come back in a month.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so let me go,
So is there any mention here of the proposed septic system?
no,
That's what I was thinking about too, Mary, is, should you not be directing them to file a notice of intent at this point?
No,
Uh,
not necessarily.
no.
What DEP says is that if you have an actual violation, what happens is you can get into this endless loop requiring a notice of intent and people don't get around to it. And then you've let them off the hook otherwise. So it's better if there's a specific violation to try to get them to deal with that violation. And then depending on what you discover when they get the mapping done, then if you want for a particular project, they could come back and do a notice if it's something that would be permittable under the Wetlands Protection Act and bylaw. And if not, then like Miriam says, then they have to go the restoration route instead. They have no choice.
Thanks, James.
I also, it's 8:30, and so we need
Okay.
to continue. All right, I don't see the applicants for 26 Lake Drive.
I'm on the phone.
You are here. Hi, Anna.
Yep. Hi, it's Anna Mancebo.
Okay.
How are you? How are
I'm
you?
good. Let's
Good.
just pause this for 1 second, go to 26 Lake Drive, open the public hearing for the notice and the amended order of conditions for 26 Lake Drive. Anna, so my understanding is you want to continue, and we discussed it by email, doing it on the 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
We have a public hearing at 7:30 on the 23rd. That's for the ANRAD, the solar ANRAD, and it's probably gonna, those tend to be really lengthy. They take like
Yeah.
an hour, hour and a half.
Okay.
We have a bunch of things we have to review that night with the
Okay.
ANRAD. So
Okay.
that's why I was suggesting the 9 o'clock time, because I'm.
If that works for you, then that'll work for us.
Okay.
Okay.
Everybody feel like we can do the ANRAD in an hour and a half? I don't know. Worries me, but we don't have any choice because we have so many projects. We have to do multiple hearings.
You'll have Emily's help, right?
So the other thing we could do, Anna, and if the commission was interested, I was thinking of this as a workaround, is we could try to schedule the meeting starting at 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then do your project and get rid of any other business we need to take care of, and then have the public hearing for the ANRAD, and then you're not at the end of it.
Yeah.
Would-
Whatever works for you. We've hired a civil engineer. He's going to be presenting the revised plan with all the answers to all the questions that have been raised, and he's going to be narrating. So Chris Stoddard is our civil engineer. So I just spoke with him and he's available that night. So
That's great. Well, we're really happy to hear that. That's great.
yeah, Yeah, I think that'll be the best.
So what do you think, commissioners? Would it be okay to do 6 o'clock? I just think would be fresher than trying to do this at 9 o'clock. I hate doing permits really late at night because I feel like, we're all kind of losing our brain cells by that. We're all fading out.
I can make
Yeah,
6.
and I
Okay.
can make 6. I don't know what it,
Well, okay. So I'm going to move that we continue this public hearing to Thursday, June 23rd at 6 p.m. Carrie, can you make 6 o'clock that night?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Do we have a second for that?
second,
Okay, David,
aye.
Font, aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. See, I'm already blocking. All right, thank you, Anna. I think. we're all-
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
We'll talk at 6 o'clock then. Thank you.
okay.
Bye-bye.
So regarding the septic system, going back to the enforcement order, Don, I did reach out to the Board of Health and told them about our concerns and said that if they do get a septic application, we absolutely need to go out and look at the location of what they're proposing because we're not sure where the boundaries are. So I'm pretty confident that, the septic system will get reviewed by us at that point. Scott, did you have something?
Oh, nope, I don't.
All right, so what I'm going to do is pull up Form 9. 678 enforcement order. And this is, and I want to share it, and this is where I'm a little concerned about the legality in terms of who the landowners are. And can you guys see this? Are you guys seeing this?
Yep.
And I don't know, Carrie, did you get Jake's address when he was talking? I don't know if I wrote it down.
Yeah, the first one he gave I did catch, and that was 354 Federal Street, Unit A in Montague.
So 354 Federal Street. Unit A or Unit 1?
A,
What?
yeah.
Okay, put the zip for that.
Oh, 1351.
Thank you. Oh, well, I wonder why you know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got Thomas Mitchell, Jake Mitchell, AKA Hoy Properties LLC.
So the Hoy properties goes to either address, is that?
No, the Hoy Properties goes to Tamarack Lane.
Oh, that's right. There's another one.
Address. Do I have that down here? I don't even
No.
have Tamarack Lane.
No,
I think I wrote it down in my notes. I have it down somewhere. Hang on one sec. Tamarack. "47 Tamarack Drive in Amherst." I don't know how else to do this.
Yeah. I would say just put them in the same order that you have the names.
Yeah, right.
So Tamarack should go last then,
Okay, all right.
if it'll fit.
Well, okay, I'll just put that as a note and I'll. get
Okay.
it. 678 is the address. And then I just wrote this chronology of everything that happened, just to lay it all out in the enforcement order.
Yep, I read that. Yeah.
Now,
Mhm.
I'm estimating square feet I don't know for a fact. It looked to me like it was about 2,000, it was over 1,000. I don't know if it makes a difference. We're gonna get this delineated. Should I just say over 1,000, just to be on the safe side?
Don, did you have
I
any
just-
sense on that, or?
That's what I was thinking it was like 2,000 because it was just the immediate bounds of the backyard, but we don't know where the trees were that he pulled out. We don't know anything about what he may have done in the wetland uphill as well. So I
It was
just
a-
limit to what we saw,
it
which
looked
was the
like
yard,
It looked like it was about 30 feet by 60 feet or.
something like that. Yeah.
So that's where I came, or 40 feet by 60 feet, something like that. So that's where I came up with 2,000. But I'm saying estimated, so. All right, and then the photos, and when we issue this order, we're gonna attach the site visit form with the photographs as part of the evidence.
Okay.
The DP. And then activities have resulted in alteration of a protected resource area. It's up gradient of another BVW on the property. The activities documented in this order constitute unauthorized activities in the protected resource area. Is that right?
Yep.
Yep. And then the
good.
violation. Yeah. Scott, was that you?
Oh, yeah, I said that looks good.
Okay, and then the findings, is being conducted in an area under the protection without the approval. And then this doesn't relate to us because there's no order of conditions existing right now. And then we're changing this date to July 2nd. And then see attachment for requirements of enforcement order. Is that all right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's it. If we'll vote on it. But my understanding is that the options are limited for them, that they could, it's going to be a matter of restoration or replication. Are there other options, Janice?
Not if it qualifies as a protected wetland. I mean, they could do a little, it would have to be under 5,000 square feet. in order-
They have two wetlands, sort of wet areas in the front yard. If those were improved, enhanced, and made into actual wetlands with plantings, they could do a replication. I think there's more than enough area, what I'm saying, is in the front that could make up for
There's a
what they
septic-
dug up
there's
in the
a
back.
septic There's a septic system in the front, Don.
Beyond the septic system where those two little wetlands are right by Pratt Corner Road. Those two little ditches that are connected by culverts in
Yeah.
those front yards in the series there. My concern is that you set a precedent. If he can't replicate, what happens when one of the other houses in the adjoining properties has a similar situation? You know what I'm saying here is that, it's not that you're giving them an out. It's more like they're going to have a choice here as to what they can proceed to do. They may end up having to not be able to develop the house.
And I guess for my part, I'd be pretty careful about talking about wetland enhancement as a a mitigation measure to replace lost wetlands. We haven't even gotten the report yet back to know what actually took place or the extent of it. So I guess I'd like to talk about those options after we get back the report from the the wetland scientist to see what actually is taking place and
Yeah.
go from there. But yeah, it's I think it's gonna be difficult, as Don said.
When we do the site visit, I know this is a big ask because you're very busy. Is there any chance, Janice, we could get you to accompany us?
Maybe. It sort of depends on the day.
Okay.
And so we're not looking to do a site visit till after he does the wetland delineation.
Well, I was thinking maybe we should do one sooner rather than later, just so everybody's on the same page of what happened, what it looks like. Because it'll look different in a month.
I don't know.
Don't you sort of need to talk to the other commissioners and try to get as many commissioners to see this at the same time?
Well, that's what I would like to do, is really, I'd like to get as many of us, and I was just thinking it would be great if Janice could come, but I would like Beth and Robin was there, but Mary and Scott, you didn't get a chance to be there. So, I'd like to try to find a time that we can all make. Okay. Does somebody want to make a motion to approve the enforcement order as written?
Make a motion to approve the enforcement order as reviewed and written,
Okay,
or written and reviewed.
second, Scott, do you want a second?
I will second.
Okay, David,
Aye.
Font, I, Con.
Aye.
Okay. What is next on our agenda? Let me pull up my agenda because all right, we have to draft the order of conditions for 14 Lake Drive. I know we've got that on our list. And
Sediment release off Pratt Corner.
yeah, we need to talk about that. And I think Sharon is still here. Why don't we take that since she's here? Hi, Sharon.
Hi, Miriam.
If you want to, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for helping with this. Let me fix my light here. Do you want to start with it?
Yeah, go ahead. Tell us what you're concerned about.
Oh, okay. Well, I sent you photographs. There's a wetland, like if you're going up Pratt Corner Road towards the center of Shutesbury, just after you go under the first power line on the left, there's a wetland, and we noticed hiking back there, there's just a huge amount of sediment, kind of like really pouring down over a large area. And those were the photographs that I sent you. And, I'm quite familiar with that area, and it's gotten worse in the last couple of years. And so my concern is about the clear cut that's right uphill from it. And I did do some research on the Massachusetts GIS maps just to see, where's the slope, and from the kind of the center of that clear cut, it's a 300-foot drop pretty much in that direction towards the road. Looking at the topography and the elevation from the clear cut, it's a 300-foot drop right down in that direction. Some of it goes into this little perennial stream that goes into Nurse Brook, but then the angle of the hill, and it's not, I don't think the sediment comes off of the mountain. What I'm concerned about is that when there's more water, because of the clear cut, water goes faster and stronger, and that it's taking sediment from the road and pushing it through the culvert. That's what it looks like. There's two culverts, and that there's a lot of sediment coming down from the side of the road and going through the culverts into the wetland because of the increased amount of water up there. So I don't know really what the the policies are, what you do about things, but I just wanted to bring it to the attention of the Conservation Commission, just because I know you guys care a lot about the wetlands, and this looks like one that's getting increasingly damaged. The other reason I'm bringing it up is because Pratt Corner West is that site for potential solar is right near there, and just the idea of even more clear cut. And when it's clear cut for solar, it's also like all the roots are taken out and it's graded, like it's even more water pouring down the hill. So if already these wetlands are getting damaged from something uphill, that just concerned me. So
Well, thank you for sharing that. So there's really two pieces to this, I think. One is, is there an issue with the forest cutting plan and the forestry practices on that property? And then there's another piece to it, which is what's happening right on the road, which is not really having to do with Coles at all. It really has to do with the highway department and the right of way that's owned by the town along the road. I went out after you made this concern, Sharon, and I looked at that culvert, it's Nurse Brook that's going under.
no, it's not.
It's just a tributary of Nurse Brook. It doesn't matter. So there's a stream that goes under the road, and there's a storm cut that was done by the highway department to get storm runoff from the road, and it's all silted up, and there's erosion discharging right into that brook.
This is actually downhill from Nurse Brook. There's a lot of water that comes off. There's a house there, and there's a culvert under their driveway, and then it goes along. There's a ditch along the side of the road that then drops into another culvert that crosses under Pratt Corner. So further towards Atkins Reservoir from the Nurse Brook, where Nurse Brook goes under.
Maybe I'm not in the right, maybe I wasn't looking at the right culvert. And maybe this is unrelated, but we have been concerned about highway department, stormwater management, and how it affects the resource areas. And for the commission's knowledge, because we've looked at some other locations like this in town, this looks a lot like the situation we looked at Wendell Road, where there is a storm cut, but there's evidence of sediment eroding out of that storm cut right into the brook. And so I could see evidence of sediment getting into the brook, and there was an area where it was clear there had been some flooding, and there was sediment that had flooded out of the bank of the brook.
Did you see the wetland area I'm talking about?
No, I didn't go off I just stayed in the right of way. I didn't go into the property. I didn't want to do that. So I was just really just looking at the stormwater in the right of way. That was all I
Okay.
looked at.
I
So
think it might have been uphill from where I mean.
it may have been.
Yeah.
But
I
this is-
did get a chance to look at it, driving by, and Sharon had shown me where the site was. And I stayed within the town's right of way, just by the roadside there. But I could see siltation covering up a large portion of the wetland she's describing. How do I know it was a wetland? Well, there was wetland vegetation, there was clear hydrology, there was evidence that there were hydric soils all along that area, along that slope. But again, it could be attributed to what the town's been doing to the swales. It could also be attributed to greater output of water from upslope, which could have been coming from the cut. Again, I haven't seen that forest cutting plan. I haven't reviewed it. So I can't really tell you what precautions they may have taken.
Right. So I'm just thinking about our jurisdiction. I know we have jurisdiction if we're looking at stormwater management in the right of way around the wetlands. And I don't know if we were talking about the same culverts. It's where I saw a culvert, it was eroding and needed some maintenance work. There was gravel from the road. There was some trap rock that the highway department had used around the culvert that was caving into the brook. So that was an area that definitely needed some attention. I am concerned, and I guess I want to think this through. You know, we have jurisdiction if there's a new point source discharge of sediment, for example, into a resource area. If there was some more subtle change in hydrology because of forest cutting, that led to just higher amounts of runoff, but not sediment discharge. I'm not sure, do we have jurisdiction in that? Or is that really something that's up to DCR and their management?
In the
or-
case of what happened in Williamsburg, DCR and DEP were able to communicate with each other and determine as to who was responsible for the sediment deposit. And
Okay.
they ended up coming up with the landowner who had done the forest cutting, that it was their responsibility for the discharge. In this case, you don't have a pre-study of what the water flow was off of this property. So you have to go by current conditions. I think this is a matter for DEP and DCR to discuss.
Mhm. Right, so that is what I'm asking, is whether, you know, we need to share this with them and let them resolve it. I'm just concerned that I'm not sure this is where, if we can establish jurisdiction. It's already been established that we do not have jurisdiction in most areas around forest cutting plants, not all areas of forest cutting plants, but many areas of forest cutting plants. We, by state law, do not have jurisdiction. So even though we do have jurisdiction over wetlands, there's this preemption. So that makes DCR have jurisdiction and DEP over us. So anyway, that's my question here. Sharon, did you want to say something?
I'm wondering if you ever want to meet me there and I can show it to you. I'm happy to, just so you can get an idea whether it's even worth. To me, it looks like it's a large wetland, but anyway, if you want to do that, and then I wonder how we find out if they did work according to their forest plan and what the process is.
If it's off of the right of way, we would need to work with the landowner. We couldn't look at it without their consent. And we'd need to probably notify DCR and have the DCR forester be involved if it was a question around forest cutting.
You mean if we were going to check if they followed their plan and
Right.
if it was an appropriate plan?
Right. So we would have, we would have to have an idea of where we're going. And so, you know, it sounded like the area you were talking about, Sharon, was away from the road. It wasn't visible from the road. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
You
it's
mean
not-
where the clear cutting was?
No, the area where you saw the sediment
Oh,
discharge.
no, you could see it from the road in May for sure, but now that there's a lot of greenery, it's harder to see from the road, but only because it's got a lot of ferns and things like that.
Well, I don't have a problem with us doing a site visit on the road. And if you wanted to accompany us, to show us exactly where it is, as long as we're on the road or we're in the right of way. I don't want to go onto the property.
What's the right of way?
What?
What's the right of way?
It's
How
about-
do you know if you're in the right of
it's
way?
about 15 feet on each side.
Oh, okay.
I think you want to observe it right after a rain event.
Yeah, like Saturday would have been great because it rained hard I was out there on Saturday and that's when I saw what I saw. But I don't know if I was in the right place, Sharon. We are probably going to set up some site visits on a Sunday in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Because I'm really, I know that, one of the areas we definitely have jurisdiction around is around if there's been a discharge because of highway department activities. So, I know that's an area we have jurisdiction. So I would be happy to go and take a look at some of those areas with the commission. Because we've been trying to work with the highway department to highlight areas where we think there's some maintenance that needs to happen to protect the wetlands.
Mhm.
So I think that would be a fruitful activity, and, maybe we'll have some insight into what we would need to do if we want to take any action around this. Honestly, it's because our jurisdiction is so limited around forest cutting plans, I can't really, I'm not confident that there's much we can do at all, because it's a sort of an indirect relationship that you were describing.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's not a direct effect. If you said, they did some cutting and as a result, a bank collapsed and there was a whole bunch of sediment that got dumped into a wetland because this bank collapsed and it was right near the wetland, then I'd go, okay, that seems like a very direct
Right.
we're connecting the dots. But if it's just this issue of like increased runoff over time, leading to other things, secondary effects, I don't know that.
Right, where we can't even really necessarily prove that it's because there's more water or less water being absorbed by the trees.
Right, we would, that it's a theory, we couldn't prove it, and
Right.
then we can't establish our jurisdiction. So do you want to leave it that maybe we'll do we'll look at this area on a site visit next time we're doing around it, when I arrange it.
Sure. Yeah, I'm around the next couple of Sundays, so you can just give me a time and I'll
Is
probably
that
be.
okay, Scott and Mary? You guys okay with that?
For a site visit for this Sunday, I'm out.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Well, I'll poll people and see when we can get the most people for site visits. Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you for your attention. Yeah, I appreciate it.
And you're gonna invite the service forester too, right?
Well, I don't think we're gonna get them on a Sunday, are we?
They're allowed to make up their time schedules any way they like. Service foresters go when they please.
All right. Well, if we're gonna, I thought we were just gonna maybe just start with looking at what we can see from the right of way. And then take it from there. Was my thought, was have a preliminary visit, and then we could decide whether we want to go further and then talk to Coles and the service forester about going and looking farther afield. Does that sound all right?
That, it sounds good to me because I don't know how to evaluate things like this, and I don't want to involve a lot of people unless it's worth, involving more people. So I think that sounds like a really good first step.
Okay, all right. Thank you. We'll do that. Okay, let's move on. It's 9. We have to draft the order of conditions for 14 Lake Drive. And we got the updated site plan from them, which I think I sent to people. Did I do that? Hope I did. Did I send anybody the site plan? I hope I did. So I'm going to pull up the special conditions. I'll share it with you guys. All right, can you see this?
Yep.
All right.
We can.
So, okay. So, findings of fact. We approve the bank of the Lake Whale as represented by the concrete retaining wall and the 100-foot buffer zone delineated on the site plan entitled blah, 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 dated 5/27, which is the newest version. The 100-foot buffer zone around the bank which is mapped but not flagged on the site as protected resource. under the Shutesbury General Bylaw and the Wetlands Protection Act, right? Am I right about that?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? It's because I was
It-
saying,
it's-
I'm sorry, the buffer zone. The point being that is a protected resource. So the buffer zone is a protected resource. That was the point of this sentence. Sorry. And then here, I wanted to go over this language with you. The commission finds an intermittent stream identified on the site plan exists on the southern side of Lake Drive. This stream is conveyed under Lake Drive via a culvert and continues via a buried PVC pipe along the western side boundary of the property with a submerged outlet in the lake. This intermittent stream and associated bordering vegetated wetlands are a protected resource area under the Wetlands Protection Act and the Shutesbury General Protection Bylaw. The associated BVW has a 100-foot buffer zone. The buried PVC pipe constitutes the bank of this intermittent stream and has a 100-foot buffer associated with it. That was the piece I wanted to make sure I was clear about. The commission finds that the project is entirely within the 100-foot buffer zone of this, for this resource area. This buffer zone is a protected resource area under the bylaw. Any comments?
How long is that culvert?
It
It's,
goes the whole length of their property. It's more than 100 feet.
Okay, because I thought I'll have to check, but I thought in the Wetlands Protection Act, culverted streams went up to 200 feet and then they were no longer protected. But if it's under 200, then I think you're fine.
I think it's under 200.
So we're saying that, just to make sure I'm tracking with that, Miriam, we're saying from the grate in the road through that pipe, the PVC that's buried, we're calling that an intermittent stream.
It's an intermittent stream above it. And then it goes into that pipe. Does that answer your question? I'm looking at the site plan for a second, Janice, also just see if I can figure out
Okay.
the distance. It's how I'm blowing it up. So the property, let's see if I can figure out. They don't have any measurements. Rebar. I don't see any measurements on this site. Let me look on this one. I don't know if anybody else wants to look at the site plan for a second and see if you can figure out what the length of the property is. There's no measurements. I don't think it's 200 feet.
Okay.
This is a small lot. I don't think it's 200 feet to the opposite side of the road. But I guess we could go on and look on one of the maps, and if somebody wants to go check right now and look on a map and measure it, you know, like
I'm trying to find the piece in the regs that talk about the streams that go through culverts.
somebody want to take a look at a map and pull it out and measure it.
Can
I can't do it.
try to take a look here. But the intermittent stream, just so I'm tracking on that other part while I'm looking at this, that was, I mean, is that the road? Or I'm sorry, I'm just not tracking where that intermittent stream was. There's flowage coming down the road.
But let me explain it.
Yeah.
They're way up above, so there's Lake Drive and then there's Locks Pond Road, right?
Yeah.
And up above Locks Pond Road, on the other side of Locks Pond Road, the intermittent stream emerges, okay?
Yep.
Then
Yep.
under a culvert, under Locks Pond Road, it goes down a property, down to Lake Drive, goes under Lake Drive, and then goes along this property and empties into the lake.
Gotcha. I'm tracking with that. I guess I saw that more as sheet flow and runoff more than an intermittent stream. I didn't see any, there's no hydrophytic plants or I didn't see hydric soils or anything coming down by, from that area through, upstream from where the grate is up as far as we walked. There's drainage there, but I guess I didn't see that as an intermittent stream, but it could, if it was delineated that way, I stand corrected.
Are we talking about the same? Were you on that site visit to 14 Lake Drive?
Well, that's what I'm wondering if we are talking the same piece or not. This is the pipe buried down that empties out into the lake.
Well, it does empty out into the lake. I just don't know. I don't remember if you were on that site visit or not.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll.
Does anybody remember? I remember Beth was there. I have to go look up the site visit plan, Scott.
Okay.
If you're not sure.
We've looked at a lot along the lake. I'm thinking about the pipe buried.
You're not getting this confused with 66 Lake Drive.
I might be.
So that's the one where there's an erosion problem with Mr. Douglas.
Yes.
And we went out with LWAC and looked at that.
Thank
This is
you.
not-
Thank
yeah,
you. I stand corrected. That's exactly what I was
Yeah,
thinking
no,
about.
this is a different area.
Okay.
That's
Thank
King
you.
Road. No, and I mean, there's running water much of the year. I've never seen there not be running water.
Okay.
And there's a very defined stream bed.
Thank
So,
you. Now it's making sense because I'm thinking of the other site.
I would say it's an intermittent stream. I don't think it's more than 200 feet. So Janice, you've clear about that? I would go look at a map, but I have EDP open, so I can't open another browser.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm trying to open it and see.
I mean, you can go to the assessor's website and you can open up the map that's on the assessor's website and find this property. And then there's a little measuring tool that you can use.
Yeah.
While we're doing that, I'm going to stop screen sharing this for a second. I noticed there's other people here. Is there anybody who wanted to make a public comment tonight who hasn't had a chance to? Hi. Hi, why don't we just take a pause and you can speak? Who are you?
Hi, my name is Joe Trapani. I live at 692 Pratt Corner Road, and I had read the online details of the meeting, and it seemed like at 9 p.m. there would be a review of complaints. So I had just signed in at 9 looking to do that. So I wasn't sure if that had already happened or.
It has already happened. And I'm sorry if it wasn't clear on the agenda what time we took it earlier, but if you want to make a comment, you're welcome to. I mean.
Oh, I wasn't. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even sure. I'm not familiar with the order of how these things play out and whether or not what was even discussed about it. It says on the agenda, review complaint about wetlands violation. I'm really sorry I missed it. I would have signed on. So I took pictures from my property. So I live at 692 Pratt Corner, and we're above that property. And I was the homeowner that I wouldn't call it a complaint. It was an inquiry that was driven by the fact that close friends of ours were very interested in purchasing that property. And one of the reasons they chose not to was because they were under a strong impression that the backyard really was not to be maybe dug and changed in a great way. And then I was watching over days a large excavator in the backyard. And so I just was curious maybe what the status was since I missed it. I don't want you to rehash everything that was discussed, but if there's anything that I can add through pictures that I've taken from my property, both before the area was worked on and then afterwards, or whether or not I could just learn a little bit real quickly about the status of things. I'm just curious, really, more than anything. I don't want to fault anyone, and I hope that everything's been done
Yeah.
correctly and properly because I have adjacent property.
Sure, no, I appreciate that. And I do have a question, I guess, because we understand that you observed some activities. Did you observe any fill being put in, any loam or soil being added to the backyard?
Sure. I can do you mind if you can share a screen? I can show maybe like 6 pictures that might just
Well,
give an indication.
I don't want to kind of get into the pictures.
Okay.
But
Sure.
just wondering if you.
Yeah, so there was there was a change in the way the backyard looked with from my property line and viewing onto it. It started as a ferny area, and then by the end it had very nice looking earth on top, and that stayed for about 2 days like that, and then it had a nice layer of straw placed above that, and it's currently in that state, which looks to me like a normal seeded lawn would look after someone places straw above it. And in the front of the house there was a large, this is observed from the road because I walk by it every morning when I take my kids to the bus stop, there was a large mound of something in the front yard, but I believe they maybe spread that in the front driveway. So I don't know that I observed any actual product that was spread in the backyard or whether it was just the soil and earth from the yard turned over. So I can't say for sure.
Okay, that was just a question I had and I thought maybe you knew. Well, I don't think we can get into all the details, though it was part of the public meeting.
Okay.
But there has been an enforcement order that's been approved. So we are going to be looking for some steps to resolve the situation from the landowner.
Thank you. And I only had one other question, which is that through learning from my friend about this whole process, I also learned about perhaps what would be needed for a septic installation, because I was aware that when the house was for sale, it had a failed Title V, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious whether or not the Conservation Commission or how we would learn whether or not anything was done in the backyard that might be related to septic, and or if we will learn if anything is going to happen in that regard from the homeowners.
I did check with the Board of Health and there has been no application for a septic system, new septic system.
Okay.
And, we're going to get informed if an application is sent in for that. The Conservation Commission, will get flagged, and we will have to review that. But given how many wetlands are in that area, we'll have to review any proposed septic system to see if it's they're set back far enough from the wetlands. There's requirements about how far a leach field has to be from wetlands, and that we'll have to look and see what happens.
Thank you. And then I guess so I would just have one last quick follow-up, which is I'm curious whether or not it was my inquiry into just whether or not the work in the backyard had been reviewed, if that's what triggered the awareness of work being done. Is it your impression that that I should be aware of whether or not septic work starts being done without permitting, or is that level of thing that's done in someone's house
I don't think
never the case where it would happen without going before a board?
Yeah, I don't think that could happen.
Okay.
There has to be a permit. I don't think any septic installer would do any work without a permit. So I don't think that's a worry.
I appreciate it.
Yes, we apparently one of our consultants had observed that there was work being done before you called us, but hadn't seen what was in the backyard, of course. After you called me, because I spoke with you on Friday morning, I contacted the commission and we made a decision based on the phone call that we were going to do a site visit. And I just want to be clear that we would have done a site visit regardless of whether you sent us photos or not. We were not relying on your photographs.
Yeah.
to determine whether or not a site visit needed to needed to happen based on the information you gave me that you observed about a drain. That's always a red flag because drains are usually draining groundwater. And so we're always wondering if there's a wetland related to the drain. If it hasn't been permitted. So, and I knew also that there were wetlands on that property because I had spoken with somebody, I don't know.
Yeah, with
And somebody had called the commission a few months ago and wanted information about what the regulations were about that particular property. So I'd already heard, when you called, I already knew there were wetlands from talking to you.
yeah, you had conveyed that to me in the phone call also that you were already
I knew there were
well aware of the whole situation.
Right,
So, and I appreciate you
yeah,
being on top of everything.
and I knew
So,
there was a failed septic system. So anyway,
right.
we would always reach out to the landowner and gain consent and then do a site visit if there was.
Got it.
So I just want to be clear about that process. And yeah.
So, it says on the meeting that there will be, right at the very end, it says site visit follow up, and then it says consider draft minutes. Has that already happened too? I don't mean to say that I want to leave the meeting, but with
Yeah,
small
you
kids
can.
and my
Yeah, no,
limited time, I would
we're not
sign
gonna
off if.
We're not going to talk
No.
about this particular issue anymore.
Okay. Well, I
Okay.
appreciate all your work on not just this or not even close to just this, but everything that the commission does. So thank you so much. The town is grateful and I'm grateful.
Well, thank you.
Have a good evening.
You
Thank
too.
you, everyone.
Okay. All right. Any other public comments that we should take care of? I see Joe's here. Joe, did you have any questions tonight?
No, I'm just listening, enjoying the
All right.
learning. I'm trying to learn as much as I can.
Great, great. I bet it feels good that it isn't about you.
Especially the last one.
Well, we're really glad that you're on your way with your.
Well, that's it. I don't know how you guys do it, but that's it. I learn something every night.
Yeah, okay.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, so I'm going back to the special conditions. Let's go back.
Right.
So I just want to make sure we give people a chance to talk.
The measurement you wanted, Miriam, was it the length of the property from the road to the lake?
Yeah, that's probably helpful,
It's 36.3 yards.
which is what? It's about 100 feet.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's less than 200 feet. So back to this question that it's the pipe has a buffer zone. Are we agreed about that?
Now that I'm on the right property, yes.
Yeah, let's do that.
That's
Let's
always key. Make sure we're on the right spot, Scott.
Moving
Okay.
on, a small portion of the proposed project lies within a 100-year floodplain as identified on the site plan. And this Lake Wyola is listed as whatever it's listed as, priority habitat, description of the property. This is boldface. I want a boldface. Okay. Proposed foundation length. No changes to the well or septic, or this is just standard stuff. Then here's the site plan that Chris Chamberlain revised. We find that the commission finds that the project has rebutted, or the applicants, I guess it's the applicants, have rebutted the presumption. Yes. Okay. And just a little blurb that I thought I would include about where to get resources about lakeshore landscaping. These are all general conditions that we've been using, nothing here new. Pre-construction, all standard. This was a pretty simple project. I felt like the design was, they did a really good job of presenting it all. So I didn't feel like I had a bunch of questions. So I don't think there was anything else that was unusual. The rest is all boilerplate. So were there any other comments or revisions?
No,
No?
Looks
looks
good.
good.
Okay, and then I'm going to go into EDP and we'll review the draft permit for a sec. And I'll do the sign and submit if I have everybody's permission after the meeting, when I can think more clearly. Okay, so let me do a screen share of my desktop. Okay, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so I've updated the site plan. No, final revision, not updated. 2/7. Okay. And we save that. Next. All this is checked off. Bordering land subject to flooding 150 feet. That was from their proposal. And then nothing gets checked off here. And then change the date to June 2nd. And again, this is under the bylaw. And we need 3 signatures. Okay. All right, any questions?
Nope.
We're good with that? Does that look all right?
It
Okay,
looks good.
all right, and do I have everybody's permission to sign for you digitally?
Yep.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion to approve the order of conditions as amended?
I'll make a motion to approve the order of condition as amended for 14 Lake Drive.
Okay, second,
Second.
and David,
Aye.
Font, aye, Con.
Aye.
All right, there was one more thing I wanted to just talk about briefly before we leave, if we don't have any other unfinished business. Let me just look at our agenda. Was there any other? Oh, we have the draft minutes. We don't have the minutes ready for May 12th. We did send out the draft minutes for April 28th. Has everybody had a chance to look at them?
They looked okay to me.
Yeah, I took a quick look. They look good.
Okay, so.
Motion to approve for 428 minutes.
Okay, second,
Second.
David,
Aye.
Font, aye, Con.
Aye.
Okay. So I think we have covered all of that. And we didn't have this on the agenda, but there was an LWAC meeting last weekend on Saturday that Mary was at and I attended. And a couple things came up. One is that they're having their annual meeting on June 11th. And typically when the LWA, the Lake Wyola Association Homeowners Group, is having their annual meeting. And in the past, the Conservation Commission has printed and handed out that flyer, that 1-page flyer with the information about permitting requirements at the lake. So I just wanted to give you guys an update that I had Carrie, I went through it again and looked at the version that Tessa Dowling had done. I found a couple errors in it and I ran it by Janice just to make sure they were corrected. I was correct. So I updated it. It's on the website now. And I had Carrie Xerox some, or copy some. So we're going to have Kat Hilton from the Board of Health is going to bring them for the meeting. But there was also, I had voluntold myself at that meeting that it might be nice to have a handout for landowners about lakeside landscaping and how to do kind of more eco-friendly landscaping. There's like a lot of literature out there about it. And they said, yeah, that'd be great. So then I started looking for like an easy brochure that we could copy, and all I found were like these tomes that are 56 pages long. So I'm just thinking maybe just put together like a 1-page or 2-page, like a bulleted handout or something that could be copied, because I can't find, I've been trying to find a handout or a brochure somewhere that's just like a couple pages, not like everything that everybody needs to know. And I found a couple, but they aren't great. If anybody has any suggestions, you want to forward them to me. I don't think it matters a whole lot. The whole point is just to kind of try to raise people's awareness about how they can improve the quality of the bank around the lake with landscaping, like using vegetative buffers and natural plants that have deep roots, things like that.
I think it's a great idea. I don't have any thoughts right off the bat in terms of where you would go to get something ready-made that way. I would think something like that would exist. I just don't.
Oh, it does.
takes-
There's a million of them. I just haven't
Yeah.
found quite the perfect one. I found one that is like a trifold that I could use. It's not really information dense. It just has a lot of graphics on it, which is wasted paper. It's like, we don't need pretty pictures, but if it all fails, like I'll just give that to Carrie to copy, and we'll use that. But there's Vermont has an organization, a state agency has a program called Lakewise, where they have all these educational materials about how landowners around lakes can preserve and improve water quality in lakes with landscaping activities. And there's other states that have programs like that. And Massachusetts is not at the head of the pack with that, in my opinion. Maybe we don't have enough lakes. For Minnesota has a really good website. They have a lot of lakes. Okay. So I just wanted to give you a heads up about that. And there was a lot of interesting discussion about dams and water control on the lake, which I found really interesting. And maybe we can talk about that at some later point. I was thinking that maybe in the future, not tonight, because it's late, but maybe as a regular agenda item, maybe putting LWAC on the agenda, so Mary could maybe give us a report from the LWAC meetings. What do you think, Mary? That'd be okay?
Sure.
Yeah, I just think that would be good, just to kind of keep the communication going. Yeah. Okay. I don't have anything else. So.
Was this our short meeting for the month? You need a motion to adjourn?
Yes. I'll second that.
Okay.
Okay, David,
Aye.
Stefan, aye, Con.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And Carrie, do you want us to stay on for 1 second so I can coordinate with you for a sec?
That's fine.
Okay. Good night,
Thank
everyone.
you.
All right. Have a
Thanks
good night.
all.
Thank you,
Okay,
Mary Ann.
thanks.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay, so I'm going to update those permits. Maybe I'll just do it right now and send everything to you. I just don't want to do it tomorrow morning. I think I'll do that. So the tricky thing will be with 263. You know what I'm going to do?
He said that was the 17th, right?
What?
He said he turned that in on the 17th, right?
Yeah, no, the tricky thing is that I want to make sure we get the right form going to DP. I'm going to submit the form to DP, so I'll be sure that it's the right form and it'll be on me.
Okay. I know. So, like I said, so I just have a dentist appointment at like 8:45. It should be really brief. Basically, it's like a consultation, so that way I can like schedule my wisdom teeth removal. And then I have work at 11. So if whatever I can mail out tomorrow, like whatever you have ready, like now, it's not gonna take you a while. If you want to email me now, I can print it out, and then on my way back from the appointment, I can drop those off at least. And then Saturday morning, I'll be available. I don't go into work until 4, so I can do it whenever. And then Sunday I work at 10, so if need be, if I still need anything else that needs to be sent out, I can also go Sunday. Or no, it's post office, so they're not open Sunday. Never mind.
Let me see, well, I have a little bit of brain cells left. Let me go see if I
Okay.
can.
Yeah,
go see-
because I counted out that the 17th to the 31st, that was only 2 weeks, so that's 14 days. So today would be day 16.
Yeah, we're fine. We're fine. So like if we even mailed it out next week, we'd still be fine.
Yeah.
But let me go do what I gotta do with this stuff and we'll be good.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, good night.
Good night.